Welcome to everyone to this seminar called The Sustainable Future of Non-Woven. This topic is very close to my heart. I'm on a mission. I want to thank Edana to give me this opportunity today. I have the great honor to bring to this stage a unique panel, and I'm really delighted to engage the Index audience in this important topic. Medical non-woven were introduced 40 years ago to fight hospital-acquired infection. They quickly became successful because they offer better protection than textile. COVID-19 has further highlighted the critical role of non-woven material in protecting healthcare workers and patients. Medical non-woven clothing can save lives. And as we look to the future, we expect the demand to continue growing, driven by demography, and also by the increasing risk of pandemic disease linked to the global warming. But there is another side to the coin. If nothing changes, by 2030, non-woven medical clothing will represent in EMEA 1 million tons of single plastic waste going to incineration, 0.9 gigaton of carbon emission, out of which incineration represents 44%. And if this 1 million ton could be used as a feedstock for plastic recycling, it could represent a potential value of more than 600 million. So we are destroying value with significant impact on the planet. So how is the European Commission going to position on this topic? We already had a few pieces of answer. The first one is the sustainability report becoming mandatory with the CSRD, which asks us to include scope 3 emission. So, if you are a polymer, a non-woven, a film, or a healthcare brand, you have to include the emission of incineration in your report and explain how you are going to reduce them to achieve your net zero target. With this, incineration is not just the problem of the hospital, it is everybody's problem. And regarding circular economy, pressure will come either to recycle or to move back to washable solution. Impossible, you think? Well, Edana was informed of a new consultation. In March, the European Commission has sent a request for opinion on the safety of textile product for the operating room. This at least signals that the sector is starting to get attention. So what can we do as an industry? We already know part of the answer. To shift to circular economy, we need to work together. Redesign our ecosystem requires a holistic approach. And today is a significant step. For the first time, we have on stage a panel that represent nearly the full value chain. 4 key major industry leaders, willing to share their view of the sustainable future of medical non-woven and leading to lead the way. SABIC, a key polymer supplier and recycler. Berry Global, a key leading non-woven supplier in the medical sector. Mölnlycke, the leading healthcare brand in Europe, and TCG, coming in between a hospital and recycler to address some of the challenge of waste handling at hospital. I am extremely grateful to our 4 speakers. All of them are standing here today because they represent the voice of their company, but also they have a personal, strong commitment to sustainability. When people come together, changes happen. We want this seminar to inspire you to action. So, without any further ado, I will introduce Robert Garcia, our first speaker. I don't know. It's okay. Robert is an industrial engineer based in Tarragona, Catalonia. He currently serves as Product Development Director for Berry Global. With 20 years of experience in non-woven industry, Robert has developed deep understanding of product development and innovation in the hygiene and in the medical non-woven sector. Robert is also passionate about sustainability and committed to make a positive impact on the environment. He has founded a project called Catalonia Cleanup Challenge. We focus on collecting waste and data of litter abandoned in the environment. This project involves 2,500 people in Catalonia and extended in 43 countries all over the world, collecting more than 1.2 million pieces of litter to date. This project is creating significant impact, inspiring thousands of people and education centers. In addition, Robert is also engaged in collaborating with the Clean River Hub initiative. As a leader in sustainability practice and in innovation, Robert Garcia brings a unique perspective to the topic of challenges to go circular for the medical non-woven industry. So without any further ado, please welcome Robert to the stage.
Thank you. Thank you, Crystal. Hi, everybody. Thanks, everybody, for being here today. And not a lot to add, yeah, a kind introduction. Let me just say that today we're going to talk about the challenges that we have as non-woven producers. And the presentation I prepared is a bit long. So I will skip some of the slides, but I think that as information, it can be useful slides, so that will stay there for that reason. Yeah? We have 15 minutes, so we'll try to get the most of it. And let me start with a picture. Probably some of you have seen that before. This is the reason I'm here today. So in my free time, I'm part of activist, I'm a photographer. And I love taking pictures, but I love pictures that have message. And this one, it has a message. Yeah? Recently, I saw that 1 year ago, and I contacted this lady, Maria Koik. She has permitted using that for free. But the story behind this picture, I think, is really inspiring. Yeah? This inspired me a year ago, and I want to share with you. This is the picture of one operation, and it's the picture of the operation of this photographer that had a breast cancer. And before her operation, because she's also an activist, asked the doctors to keep all the waste, and they took like 6 big bags of waste. So basically, the question she's making to us is exactly what we are trying to address today. Yeah? Is another way possible? We think the answer must be yes, yeah? But depends on the people who is in this meeting. Yeah? So say that, we'll go very quickly on the first 2 points to give some data, yeah? And we'll spend most of the time in the challenges and the contributions. Yeah? So some quick data, as Crystal was very well introducing, this is about deciding if the market goes into the single-use or goes into the reusable. Yeah? And at the end is a balance of safety, as the most important one, but cost and sustainability. Yeah? Here you have some of the elements to compare them. We think that very relevant data. We don't think there is a statistical correlation necessarily. There are other factors. But it's about the surgical site infection level compared to the, as you can see here, it correlates with the percentage of single-use products that are used in those markets, in those regions. Yeah? And there's clearly that the more single-use use, the significantly lower infections there are. Yeah? So that's a very, very important element to take into account. I will skip this one. This is something that Crystal already mentioned it. To put that into context, 4.4, what does it mean? 2 gigatons, what does it mean? If we were a country, this means that only China, US, India, and Russia would generate more CO2 than our country of healthcare world. Yeah? So that's a piece of CO2. Yeah? If we talk about medical waste, I think it's relevant to know that only 15% of the waste is hazardous. That has implications about awareness, etc. Yeah? Because 85% could be treated as similar to domestic waste. The message here is very difficult to get data on waste. We are not tracking that. That goes to incineration, that goes to landfill, depending on the countries. From the data we have from sales, we can say that it's more than 1 million tons a year. So again, big piece. This information comes from a study in the UK. Around 15% of the waste of plastic in hospitals are non-wovens. And if we sum kind of adult diapers, this comes up to 30%. So this is a lot, yeah? If we take one gown, of course, because of the size, one gown is around generating 1 kilo of emissions, and half of it, near half of it, more or less exactly the same as the production, is coming from the waste. So really addressing the waste would have an impact on CO2, yeah? There's also a study from a couple of years ago, so quite recent, and they check in 6 months what would be the impact on CO2 emissions of going to these 2 strategies that are being considered. One is going to reusable, the other is going to recycling. And recycling had exactly the double impact in CO2 emissions, yeah? So with all this data, we think that there is another way to do it, yes. We think we need to go to recycling. How? This is why we are here, yeah? So really, presentation starts now, I'd say, yeah? So the challenges that we find, we have identified like 7 buckets. We'll go through each of them. I've chosen a face mask because I'm pretty sure that, unfortunately, everybody in this room has experience, very detailed experience on what face mask is. We try to recycle them as producers, and we couldn't. And that was as simple as because they are not designed to be recycled, yeah? At least in an easy way, yeah? So they have this metal close nose clip, have these elastics. So the cost for removing that, being cleaned, was absolutely prohibitive, yeah? I have the numbers, but it's really prohibitive. So the products are not designed to be recycled. That's one of the challenges, yeah? I will skip that one for the sake of time. Legislation and lack of structure. Same product to make it easy. We are given face masks as employees in all the sites, and we wanted to offer employees to recycle the used face masks. Unfortunately, that was only possible in the UK, where we collaborated with a company, a third party. But that was not possible in the country you see in the presentation. In Spain, it was because of legislation, so we were not permitted to transport used face masks from Catalonia to Basque Country. So, I don't know, 500 kilometers, same country, not possible. And in the other 3, I would say, advanced countries, we didn't find solution providers. Maybe they were there, we didn't find them. Yeah? So, the infrastructure is not ready. That's a challenge. The legislation is not helping. That's a challenge. We think that the data may play a role to help on all this, especially on the legislation. Another challenge is the complexity. I don't need to say, you saw the picture, yeah, is how many different products with different additives, because they are different performance. Sometimes it's about repellency of blood, other times about absorption of blood. We use different materials, polyolefins, polyester, viscose, you name it, yeah, binders, etc. So not simple, yeah. If we talk about the user's behaviors, I need to say that this slide is not fully consistent with some information we have from other countries, but at the end I decided to put the information from a, I think, very good report in the UK. And basically, here we refer to the lack of willingness, and we are not pointing out the doctors, we think they are more victims, yeah? In the sense that in the hospitals, obviously, safety is first, yeah? So sustainability, which is more or less something we talk for the last 2 or 3 years, probably, needs to compete with safety in a period where the safety was even more important than ever. Yeah. So how to motivate them, how to explain the needs, etc., that's what they mean here. And the other part is how do we empower them by training, etc., make it simple, so we don't misclassify those. Yeah. When you talk about another obstacle, is about the priorities, the resources of the hospitals. Again, it's about safety first. That, of course, needs to remain first. But it's also about changing the paradigm that waste is a problem, and we need to find a way to show that this is an opportunity. And I think Crystal showed very powerful numbers. Yeah? And of course, there are problems, also challenges about the design of the hospitals and about all the aspects. Of course, you can only recycle if you have solutions in the near area. You cannot travel, or the waste cannot be travel, etc., Yeah? This is a very interesting slide. I will skip it, but I think if anyone is interested in that, it explains why, from doctor's perspective or medical staff perspective, why from hospital perspective there is misclassifications. And the last of the challenges we wanted to comment very quickly today is the business case, really, really important. Yeah? I don't think there is a clear business case, and that's key to make it happen. Yeah? So probably the 3 questions we will need to face together is what technical solutions are there? What can they do? What are the restrictions? What is the CapEx? What are the operating costs to make it feasible economically? Or subsidies are needed? All these things need to be assessed. The other one is about the supply chain. How can we make it as simple as possible? Yeah? Do we collect that and treat that in-house of the hospitals? Do we just partially treat that in-house and we do outside? Do we promote hubs of collaboration between hospitals? What is the most efficient way to do that? That's another big story we need to build. And of course, collaboration. So who are the stakeholders who get benefit from that? How can we make a win-win? I would say win-win-win-win-win, including the planet. That's another big question. Yeah? So say that, I would say that in terms of solutions, I'm not here to give solutions, unfortunately. Yeah. If not, probably it would be fixed. This is a very, very, very interesting study, probably the one, in my view, that has more information, very recent. It's from the Alliance to End Plastic Waste. It's not about non-wovens, but basically the first point that they admit is about how to go net zero in the medical market, holistically, for plastics. And basically what they say is that we don't know. Okay? So we need to admit that we don't know and go from there. Yeah? Anyway, in a very detailed study from the National Health System in the UK, they talk about 4 different areas where the solutions need to come, which is consistent with what we have explained before about the challenges. One would be to how can we introduce sustainability in the procurement? So today the decisions of procurement are based on the cost of the purchasing. Yeah? So if that doesn't change, it's very difficult to promote innovation. Yeah? The technology, we have talked quite a bit, the awareness, and the collaboration. Yeah? I invite you to go deeper if you have the interest. And then to end the presentation, I want to show 4 different initiatives, real initiatives, so tangible, we can really describe them. Trying to inspire, yeah? Trying to say that something different is possible, yeah? One is about a collaboration with Molnica. I think maybe, totally, we have you here, you want to refer to it, yeah?
I can do that. Yeah, I don't need that.
Yeah.
Do you hear me? Or? Yeah. Yeah, so this is a good one, a good example where we have together with David's team here, and you can add if you like as well. But here we've been collecting used scrub suits from some hospitals, and we bring them back, and we use the Sterimelt machine here to to bring that down to the blocks, and then we can make pellets out of it. So this example is a good one. We of course sell millions of single-use scrubs out there. They are polypropylene spun bond, and they should not be contaminated. So it's a nice example where we can really do something in this area, I think.
Thank you. Another nice example is in Latin America. So where in Latin America, the market is very, very different. So the penetration of the single use is very little, around 35% only. So Barry is working directly with the hospitals, introducing also other type of technology, similar to the one now mentioned, that is able to convert that waste, including hazardous waste, in a very simple process into either to go circular by a filler of other products, so we are downcycling it, or as fuel from this reduced derived fuel that they call it, or it can be treated as municipal waste by reducing dramatically the volume and the weight. Yeah? And a couple of other experiences out of the healthcare market. One is in the food packaging. We have also the partner here, Savic. Maybe later you can comment deeper. Yeah. But what I want to really highlight here is these timings. So from the announcement that we were going to collaborate, Savic Berry, with other stakeholders you see here, till that was executed, it passed 2 years and a half. Yeah? So my message here is that through collaboration, as you see here, not only of Berry and Savic, all these players, we can make things, we can find solutions, but it will take time. So if we want to have solutions, we need to start now. Otherwise, it might be too late, yeah? Because also the reusable clothing are developing solutions, yeah? And for sure, they will become better and better. Yeah? So in a certain point, the hospitals will need to decide. So if we do nothing, this is also about survival of the segment, if we are honest with ourselves. Yeah? We cannot wait that others will fix that for us, or that competition of this type of solutions do nothing. Yeah? They are doing a lot of things. Yeah? And the last one is about an experience in agriculture. Again, Berry was developing there in collaboration with distributors and farmers a closed loop to recycle tree shelters. For those who don't know what it is, it's kind of protection, like a pipe, to protect young trees from being eaten from animals. Yeah? So the rate of survival increases significantly. So that's an additional positive impact. And now we are able to collect them to be recycled. And again, it's a nice example of successful story on circularity. So the very, very last slide is this one. So what can we do? What can you do, each of you do, or each of us do, yeah? So if we want to go circular, we need to collaborate. There is no other way as a sector. And Berry is committed, same as these other companies. So we want to invite everybody to join the Medical Plastic Alliance as a working group from EDANA. I think the kickoff will be in June. Maybe you will comment later. And if you need more information, you have the interest, feel free to contact EDANA, feel free to contact Crystal, myself, and we need to make it happen. And if you want a reason to do that, or an additional one, is because if we are honest, this is our waste, and this is our planet. So thank you.
Thank you, Robert. You can stay with me. We will see first if we have some question of the audience. Otherwise, I do have some question.
Sorry, yeah.
I will start. So you listed in the presentation 7 challenges, obstacles, and I just wanted to ask you, according to you, which one is the biggest challenge?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't think that one is really the biggest. I think that the biggest challenge we have is, let me do a trial here, yeah? Let me ask you in the older style, yeah? A very quick poll, please. Who is aware that this is a problem? If you want to say who is aware. Okay, thank you. 70%, okay? Who desires to fix it? Great. Similar, maybe slightly less, yeah? Who knows how to fix it? All right. So, one guy there, you need to join, yeah? Thank you. To change, there is a very simple model. Maybe some of you know it. I love it since I discovered it maybe 3-4 years ago. My team knows that I use that a lot. It's called ADKAR. So changing is about awareness, desire, knowledge, how to do it. And there are 2 more steps. The 4th is action, only the 4th. Yeah? So it's good that we are at the 3rd, how to do that. So let's sit down together and discover how to do that. So for me, the biggest challenge is that I thought that we would be more in the desire, yeah? Maybe awareness, because everybody talks about that. Do we really want to do that? Maybe when we say, what does it imply doing that? For example, it implies come to the workshop. If only 5-10 companies go there, as an industry, we will be more in the awareness. If really we have a massive response, we will be more in the desire, so we will be more in the knowledge. Yeah? So for me, that's the biggest challenge, that we are aware, and then how to do that? We need to work together. Huh?
I like how you say that. I've seen in your presentation some information on adult incontinent diaper, even slightly higher in volume than medical. Do you think that adult inco diaper could be included in this type of circularity program for hospital?
Well, this touches my heart because I manage hygiene and NONWOVEN and healthcare, yeah. So absolutely yes. I think it's a yes, because now we're talking about healthcare, but we could talk the same about hygiene, yeah. In my view, we will depend on the solutions we find. So some solutions technically can do that. So for example, what we're doing in Latin America that I showed before, you can put a diaper in and it works, okay? Other solutions does not. So it may depend on what type of solutions we find, etc. Yeah? But in principle, I think that the scope of the group will be on medical, and unfortunately, I would say that adult inco are outside. But in my view, there is the potential to, depending on the solutions, to include that. Yeah?
You just mentioned LATAM. Can you tell us a little bit more about this program you have put in place at Berry with Latin America?
Yeah, that's a company. So that's equipment that is smaller than this room, yeah, this floor. The way to operate that is that you can throw in anything, so hazardous or non-hazardous, paper, plastic, metal, so anything, needles can go there. At high temperature, it's killing pathogens, and it's converting in kind of powder. I think you saw the picture. And this then can be used in different ways. Yeah? So that's a nice technology. In terms of training, the people just need to push one button, and it takes 30 minutes. The equipments are not very big. I don't remember now. It's around maybe 150 kilos batches. So it's, but for a medium hospitals, they may work. Maybe we think that that's a solution. Later on, we will have another very, very nice solution immediately. There might be the option to work together with these experts and maybe make bigger equipments. I don't know. Yeah, but that's the solution. Yeah?
Okay, interesting. And also, you gave us the example of the Index23 shelter that Berry put in place as a circularity program. What type of learning can we take from this experience and maybe bring to medical NONWOVEN?
Yeah, it confirmed that cooperation is absolutely key. Yeah, that's a very, very big learning. No one has all the knowledge of all the process. So we went very slowly. So we started small to scale that up. And we tried to be agile, like in innovation. Yeah? So we tried to learn by doing. To put a very clear example, we started small, offering collection for free. We learned. Then I think was the second season, we put quite a high price to see the commitment, etc., and to learn and consolidate the supply chain or the complexity of the logistics. The third year, this was reduced to half a price with all the learnings and adjustments. And now it's for free again. Yeah? And in this process, we really were learning and pivoting after each phase. So I think these are good learnings that we can share. Yeah.
So an iterative process.
Yes. Yeah.
And to finish, and you have said it already so well, talking about the potential of a pre-competitive alliance for our industry. Why should we join, and what should be the scope and the priority? If you want to summarize.
Yeah, that's. I think we have answered partly this.
Yes.
I think why we should join, I expect it's clear enough, yeah, in the sense that it's a survival of the industry, it's a survival of the planet, or helping the survival of the planet. I think they are very strong things. If we do nothing, others are doing, yeah. But the priorities, in my view, is to start, make sure that we all get engaged, to start, and to share a vision. So I'm a believer that vision with passion moves the world. Yeah? And if we are able in this workshop to share a vision, what do we want to do, I think we have, I'm sure, yeah, the guy that's at the end, I take your face, yeah. We need passionate people like here, yeah, like you, yeah. In October, you showed a lot of passion in your presentation of sustainability. And then if we are able to align a vision with passion, we will make it happen, I'm sure. Yeah?
To begin. Thank you, Robert. I think it was a very pragmatic, with a lot of illustration, very insightful. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I will welcome our next speaker, Pontus Lindstedt. I hope I say your name right. Pontus is a value chain professional based in Sweden with a passion for sustainable sourcing. Pontus currently serves as strategic sourcing manager with Mölnlycke. Prior to that, Pontus worked 10 years with Volvo in Japan and in Australia. Pontus is a board member of several non-profit organizations, and he also is a co-founder of a small family farm called the Fork and Shovel, located on an island on the west coast of Sweden, growing apple, fermenting cider, and making gelato ice cream by hand. Today, Pontus will share with us the challenges and opportunity in sustainable healthcare. Pontus, the floor is yours. Welcome.
Thank you. So yeah, gelato and cider we'll have to speak about another day. But if anyone is interested, I'm happy. Okay, so thanks for having me. I wanted to just, before I get into the topic, recommend some reading. This book I'm currently reading, so I haven't even finished it. I'm a terrible reader, but this one I will finish. It's from the founder of Patagonia, which I think is inspiring for all of us in this business. It's about having a holistic approach, putting quality first, and really do things for a function. So a little bit the opposite of fast fashion. So I think that's a good mindset to have in mind when we speak about our business as well. Then I wanted to take the opportunity to just introduce so one slide on Mölnlycke, our company. So there's some figures and highlights there. So it's a Swedish company. We have 8,000 to 9,000 employees, 2/3 which are female, 1/3 male. That also goes up to the, actually nowadays in the executive leadership team, we are, it's 60-40, so 6 out of 10 females. You got the financial numbers there, decent growth, and some other figures that we're highlighting. We are organized in 4 different business areas, which nowadays is working very independently, end-to-end. So the largest one for us is wound care, second largest, with about 1/3 of our company is operating room solutions. That's where we belong to. And that's where we are using pretty much 90% of our fabrics that this industry is talking about is within that OR solution business area. Then we have gloves and antiseptics as well. If we zoom in on that business area, OR solutions, so it's about infection prevention and efficiency in the OR. So that's what we do. Our core business is these procedure pack, which are customized trays for the OR. So there's a number there, 7 million customized procedure packs a year being supplied to then mainly European hospitals. So if you break that down, that makes about 800 an hour. So only our business then, we are serving the hospital with 800 of these specific procedure packs every hour. So quite a lot. On the top you have some wording there about vision mission, and we talk a lot about flows and ecosystem here, so within the OR. So that's, I guess, our aim going forward, that we want to really, we see that the hospital system, so today we'll talk about waste and circular. The number one challenge that we see out there in the healthcare market is lack of staff, and I'm sure you read that in the news as well, where you are. We see that as the number one challenge for the healthcare system. So they're really struggling to cope, basically. So we also need to find circular solutions together with good, efficient solutions, so they can do their job in the best way. Moving into sustainability then. Here on the picture, you see this procedure pack being unwrapped in a laminate, PPP laminate, as an example. The nurse is wearing a scrub suit, a polypropylene scrub suit that we had in an example Robert showed. Viscose headwear and face mask, you'll know. My second reading recommendation is the Mölnlycke annual report. I recommend you start, if you have to read one, you should do the Patagonia one, but if you have spare time, you can have a look at our annual report, where we try to be more and more transparent in showing what we do. In there, you see, we do every second year, we do a materiality assessment, I think it's called, looking at having an external look from external stakeholders and experts on the outside-in approach to look at Mölnlycke and us. What do we need to do? Their outside-in look at Mölnlycke in terms of sustainability. And you see here, the top, obviously the top right, more top right, the higher importance, and you see the very top one is the number 9, which is decent, safe employment. I agree to that. But on the green side, the environmental side, the top one is waste and circularity. So we are definitely, I can make that statement, we're not doing enough in this area. So I think our stakeholders is also telling us to do something. This is our environmental impact in Mölnlycke for 2022 when it comes to carbon emissions. So it's 591, a big number there. We started during last year, we started measuring for the first time our full value chain. So we have now data on our full, scope 1 and scope 2 and scope 3. You see, like many other organizations, that the biggest scope is in scope 3. And in that scope 3, it's a bit difficult to see in the bottom maybe, but the absolute number one portion of that is the purchased goods and services, so it's the materials that we use and a lot of that is then from the nonwoven industry. So obviously very dependent on you guys or this industry to decarbonize our business. We made the commitment to net zero latest by 2050, and we're just in the process of setting the science-based targets with a 2030 horizon. So that's not validated yet, so we're just in the process to having that validated as we speak. Now I got just a few pictures, slides that are more actually to show what we are, how we are approaching our customers a little bit in this area. So this is actually pictures more for our sales organization. So I'll do my best to go through these. Robert mentioned it, introducing if healthcare would be the 5th largest. There's another big number. There's 6.7 million people die every year from air pollution. So it's terrible numbers. So it's emissions and climate change is not only an environmental issue; it's really a health crisis as well. We want to look and we want to have discussions with our customers about the environmental impact of care. And our view is that we need to take that a little bit holistic, broader look before we dive into the single use versus reusables. So that number 5 country that we talk about in terms of the healthcare system, obviously it's built up by a lot of things to drive that thing. Each surgery we want to look at, because that we have defined a little bit in our company as our so-called play field. So in the OR doing surgeries, we want to really excel and be the best to support our customers there. There's some comparable numbers there, up to 900 kilometers driving a petrol car for each surgery. But this is really where we want to see how can we best reduce the environmental impact of surgeries. In the OR then, there are different studies, and they are showing that 80% is of the environmental impact of within the OR of a surgery is coming from energy use and anesthetic gases. Then there's 16.4, so 16 is other types of medical equipment and so on. And then less than 4% is what is called then what they classify as OR textiles. Our message, so again, I'm not trying to convince you guys here now, I'm just taking the opportunity to share a little bit how we are communicating out in the market. So again, before diving into that reusable single use, we want to be part of, transforming the industry and reducing the environmental impact. But if we only look at the single-use fabrics that we supply, we are only addressing then less than 4% of the total. That is inside the OR. If you look at the total healthcare, it's even less than. So I think you get the point a little bit. Sorry for the graphic. I should have warned you. It's a bit of a graphic pic there. Sorry about that. We talk about surgical site infections. There's some big numbers there in Europe and in the US. You see there people affected and being hospitalized and the cost associated to that. So our view then obviously is that the less people we need to bring into the hospitals, the better for the environment. Okay? And then we go through, and I'm closing open doors here, but we go through and talk about the benefits of single-use medical devices and problems with the nasty reusables. And then finishing off this section with, how can we bring value with towards our customers. So we are into trying really to bring some facts then into this. It's very difficult, depending on who you ask, what boundaries are you using. It can become very complex, but we're really trying to bring some facts to the table in those discussions. So we have now launched a CO2 calculator that you can show a little bit and see on different products. We have this, which is then our core business, as I said, the procedure pack. Linking back a little bit to that first, the Patagonia thing, to really only do what is needed. So customized, minimized, the resources going into it. So each solution is kind of purpose-made. We have some certification products, IECC certification and FSC, that we are in our product line. We are launching more and more, and we plan to continue doing that. And this is the last one there. Again, so we have the assortment, as it says here, designed for safety, tailored for efficiency, and personalized to the needs. Having said all that, that's all fine. But as Robert introduced, this is what we see, and this is what is, what we are feeling. And when we see this, we feel that, of course, we need to do something about this. And it's what our nurses see as well, of course, and they're not feeling good in wasting all these single-use items. Looking at this picture, I'm not sure if they were using Mölnlycke products. I see the gowns are all the same, so that's another example. They should not all be the same. They should be purpose made. So the surgeon being closest to the surgery, where there's liquids and things, should have a reinforced one. Then there's other people within the OR that can have lighter products, and so on and so on. So I think there we need to think a little bit more and challenge ourselves. But we obviously see that we need to do something here. NHS was mentioned on the report from Robert, and will probably be discussed from David here as well. I think it's a good example. You can look a lot about, so they have done the NHS, the UK health system, UK's largest employer, I think, having the environmental impact equivalent to the country of Croatia. So it's a big one. But then if you go into also what they are saying, then they say, if you look at the top one there, decarbonizing our supply chain, saying that 1.4% of their supply chain emissions are due to single-use devices, and therefore we should do this and that and this and that. So even, first reaction is, okay, what about the other 98.6%? What should we do that? And that's a little bit the message that I gave before. But we are it's still, even though it's having a in proportion low kind of total impact, it's still a very focused area. And the other picture here is also from the same report that Robert, you were recommending from, I think it's the Plastic Alliance Consulting. That's behind that report. And even in that report, there are suggestions to move from single-use to reusable products, which is interesting, I thought. But I think it also shows that, it's out there, it's very feeling, it's emotional, it's visible. So absolutely, we need to do something about that. So summarizing, or maybe this is my last slide, I think, going forward. So we need to have that balanced approach. I think it's our view, our message. we need to decarbonize our industry. Yeah, we go around here and we see nature favor or green or sustainable and this and that. But we need to look at the facts, and we need to move into green energy in our operations, for example. I mean that is a big, I shouldn't say low-hanging fruit, but giving a lot of impact for not so much effort. So I think we need to do that together. Collaborate has been talked about, obviously. We need to do that more, and I think we, Mölnlycke, recognize that as well, that we need to be more open to collaborate with different stakeholders and partners. And I think we need to continue to pilot some, so we have some examples, but we need to continue to pilot some circular models that can become scalable. So, yeah, we've done the net zero commitment. We see that we can do a lot by, decarbonization, but to go net zero, of course, we need to do more, and we need in industry to help each other out to get there. So I think that was it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Pontus.
Now you have some
I have some
questions, I guess.
Unless somebody wants to ask. The first one is easy. Can you give us some insight about the carbon emission hotspot along the value chain of Mölnlycke?
Yeah. So as said, so it's only since last year really that we're starting to measure that properly. But it's mainly the materials, the raw materials going in. So the non-woven fabrics. Going one line below, we have, I think the largest one is polyethylene, so we use a lot of P film, is probably the number one. Then it's polypropylene and pulp. And then we have, I think number 4 is cotton, which is a little bit surprise for us when we did this, set the baseline. But we have within our procedure packs, we have a lot of cotton products in terms of gauges and so on. So an opportunity for this industry, I guess. And on product level, half or so of our impact is for surgical drapes. So that's by far the largest product group for us. Yeah.
For this industry as well. Can you give us some detail about your science-based target setting and the validation with the SBTi, and what is actually your goal and your time frame? When do you get to net zero, or what is the journey?
Yeah. So as said, we have we're committed to the net zero latest 2050. So that's far ahead. We're not just validating the targets until 2030, and it will be so it's difficult, of course, to have these absolute emission targets when you have a 10% growth ambition. But we have done some simulations and so on, so I cannot disclose maybe today those numbers, but we're looking at the reduction number. But what we see there again is we are not going to get there without doing something else, something a little bit more drastic, and I think that's the topic for today. Yeah, and we also have within those science-based targets is this one piece that is within supplier engagement, and we will have some of those targets as well to really make it public as well a little bit. For example, how large portion of our value chain has set science-based targets, for example. So we're at 20% today. I know the number. So 20% of our supplies, or the impact from our value chain, is coming from companies that have set science-based targets, and we want to increase that number.
So on the same line, does it mean that we can expect that your procurement strategy will be impacted by sustainability, that things are going to change? And I hear yes. So
Yeah.
what
Yes.
if we want to be a supplier of liquor tomorrow? Where should be the focus?
Yeah. Yeah. So no, I think in terms of sustainability, I think we
Yes.
want to see more transparency. I think that's one that I'm thinking of. I think that's getting better, but we need we need to become, all of us, more transparent. So where is materials coming from, and so on. I think we're looking forward to that. Be able to get then data on, okay, this is my environmental impact on this product or whatever, and if you move to this, to have some more science-based or fact-based. Yeah, I think that's about it for now. What I can think of.
Thank you. I have a last one, asking the expert, what difference do you see between the European country regarding hospital waste management practice? And if we were to start a pilot together as an industry, what would be your recommendation? Which country should we start with?
Yeah, I actually think that it's good to do a little bit of pilots in different places, so we can learn from that, because in terms of regulation and so on, you can have some local setups. So we are doing some pilots in of course in Sweden, where we're quite present, Sweden and Norway. We also have this in the UK. We have in Holland as well, some pilots there. We have some interest from Spain and Italy as well. So
Everywhere.
I think so, and yeah, because I think it's good with to pilot several local initiatives.
Okay.
And then of course we need to make that scalable somehow, which is a challenge. And I guess there's a reason why we don't have something in place now.
Absolutely, yes.
So it's a challenge, but yeah, across Europe and the UK.
Okay, so multiple country. Well, thank you, Pontus. I think we had a lot of numbers, a lot of pictures, and a clear message. So thank you, Pontus.
Yeah.
I'm going to introduce our third speaker, Jelena Bozovic-Vukic. Jelena is based in Netherlands. Jelena serves as Global Marketing Manager for Personal Hygiene at SABIC. Jelena has 17 years of cross-functional experience in engineering, thermoplastic, and polyolefin industry. In 2006, she joined the R&D Center of GE Plastic. In 2007, after SABIC acquired GE Plastic, Jelena has held several positions at SABIC for the automotive and the healthcare markets. She has been technical marketing and market development leader for BOPP Film and Fiber, market development and technical service leader for personal hygiene, and since 2021, global marketing manager for hygiene and healthcare. Jelena holds a Master's of Science degree in chemical engineering and polymer chemistry from the University of Belgrade, Serbia, and a PhD in polymer chemistry synthesis and characterization from the Technical University of Eindhoven in Holland. The title of a presentation is Collaborating for Sustainability and Innovative Solutions. Sorry. Welcome, Jelena, to the stage.
Thank you, Christelle. Thank you so much. It is my great pleasure to be with you today and actually to talk about this very exciting subject. And as speakers already introduced many things, for me it's going to be a little bit easier to touch upon, and I will try to illustrate some of the solutions we have available moving ahead if we talk about recycling plastic materials. The outline of the presentation, it's just shown here, but let me jump in immediately to our first slide. Let me tell you a little bit about our company, who we are. SABIC, Saudi Arabic Basic Industry Corporation. Actually, we are polymer company which is a little bit more than 47 years present in the market. Company was growing, as Christelle mentioned. I started myself in General Electric Plastic, and company was growing by different acquisitions. Nowadays, we have 30,000+ employees, and we are present at 50 different countries, truly acting as a global company, and we have different R&D centers at different continents. Actually, today we are here talking about recycling waste, talking about sustainability. Of course, it goes without saying that we have different pillars and we are touching upon SABIC sustainability. Yes, of course, our biggest pain, the biggest challenge is indeed climate challenge. And I've heard previous speakers were talking about decarbonization, carbon neutrality. Yes, of course, this is also one of our pillars where we are spending our time, energy, resources, targets. We are also building up our carbon neutrality roadmaps. Yes, we all talk about different kind of reporting, and ESG reporting we also started up. Third one, if we talk on these pillars, then I would like to touch upon circular economy and True Circle, our product portfolio and solutions for sustainability. The last but not the least, which is the very important one, if we talk about hygiene and healthcare industry, it is safety. We want to deliver safer chemistry, and that is another important pillar we are following up. Yes, what is our commitment? SABIC is active in different applications, and one application, one industry where we basically created a team of expertise. It follows hygiene and healthcare industry application. We really continue to innovate together with customers. We are listening what are the market requirements, what are the customer requirements, and to work out on delivering solution without compromising on performance and bringing sustainability alone together with it, supporting solutions for hygiene and healthcare industry. Yeah? I touched upon that basically we have SABIC True Circle solutions and services. I would like to bring you a little bit more and go around sustainability. Robert and Pontus already showed to you some of the images. Actually, if we see waste, if you see such pile of waste, so don't be scared. Think what this can be. Can you use it as a future feedstock? Yeah? Can you imagine seeing this waste going really to your daily applications? Well, probably you need to think. You need some examples. You have many questions. It's not only you. Yes, of course, we are getting a lot of pressure, different really drivers on economics, on society, yes, environment and sustainability. But on another side, we have also quite big pressure. Okay, you deliver certain things. Do you have life cycle analysis data? Yes, we do. Yes, we are working on that one. What about regulations? this one, phthalate-free, was one boom thing a few years back. Yes, we do have these materials, polypropylene material, complying with the latest regulations. But there is another challenges, there is another pressure which is coming, and we need to follow them. Yes, brand owners are coming also with different pledges. Consumer feedback, it's also another one we cannot forget, and we need to anticipate it, actually. So in order to answer on all this, as mentioned, we created through Circle product portfolio. And one important point I would like to mention, that SABIC through Circle product portfolio and services are basically based on the mass balance principle, ISCC certification. Let me go a little bit further, and with this slide I would like to share with you, or actually just to mention few examples that we deliver in the market. Yes, there are many of these you see are coming from packaging industry, but please take a look. Pontus, you talked a lot about surgical gowns, different non-woven. Robert, you also mentioned indeed some of the non-woven application you are making. I am happy to share that basically, 3 years back we delivered together with Fibertex one of the example, which is based on SABIC through Circle ISCC mass balance certification. We have different buckets. Yes, we are delivering solution into certified circular products, bio-based renewable, but also mechanical. And then, as my speakers mentioned, we cannot ignore really design. So we continuously work out with value chain partners, with machine producers, with converters, and we are also working on designing our products designed for recyclability, but we also work on a closed loop solution. So these examples are just illustrating how we are working across the value chain. Well, we talk here about medical non-woven, healthcare or hygiene application. I need to mention to you, it's actually that our product portfolio, SABIC through Circle materials, are really based on no compromise on any of hygiene and healthcare product safety. So yes, our products are supporting compliance with the latest regulations. And another pillar, what is really important, product specification of these grades is basically identical to our virgin resins. So at the end, this is really pretty elegant, easy solution. It's just drop in. And it is indeed enabling to help our customers meeting their needs and actually working on sustainability targets. I was mentioning in my previous slide, yes, we are delivering, and we see for hygiene, healthcare, medical non-woven applications, we have basically a lot of challenges on safety, and that's why we are working actually on, I would like here to highlight 2 directions where we can go. We can think about certified renewable polymers, or you think about certified circular polymers. If we talk about renewable polymers, then you are going to contribute to bio-based economy. So you are, yes, avoiding fossil feedstock materials, and you are also going to have CO2 savings or capture CO2 from atmosphere. If we talk about circular material, so yes, we talk about waste reduction, waste management, and CO2 emission avoidance versus incineration. Another important point I would like to mention that our renewable polymers are basically renewable second-generation feedstock, so no competition with the food chain. By this, one another point I would like to mention. Today we are all sitting together and talking about medical waste. But if we start to talk about this, and yeah, years back, it was a challenge. So it's all about right timing. As SABIC, we already delivered to the market renewable solutions 2014. And we had a lot of challenges to get it to market, to introduce it. So it is not only what do we want, we need to listen what our customers do want. We need to think about consumer, but also right timing in order to be ready to move ahead. So looks like now it is a moment, it is a time that we are going to move. Well, yeah, before we go ahead, I just would like to remind you, today, nowadays, how do we do business or how our life is functioning? Yes, we start from fossil-based material, we bring it to our polymer plants, then it goes to converters. In this case, we make non-wovens, and we make final application like gowns or some diapers, if we talk about hygiene industry, and then they go into the use. After the use, they go into the waste. Majority of application are basically taking some energy recovering or ending up in the landfill. Well, can we do one step change? Can we do some circularity? Yes, we can. We can stop at the waste, and we can indeed collect the waste and do mechanical recycling. But please remember, mechanical recycling, you have pretty many very challenging, very difficult materials. So yes, we talk about low level, low quality of the material. Is this our solution? Not really. But yes, can be part of the solution, so we should not ignore it. Well, what are other things? You mentioned Pontus. Yes, we have non-woven materials, which is made of polypropylene, polyethylene. Unfortunately, we cannot do mechanical recycling of those. But yes, we can basically take this waste and basically crack it, break it down to the polymer, to the molecular level, and bring it back into our crackers and polymer plant and make really completely new materials and then bring it back. So this is kind of closed loop model. So let us think how we can create closed loop model, but what is more important, we need also through this closed loop model, we will have also more possibility to talk about traceability from waste to post-consumer recycle. Yes, we need to go into economic valorization of waste. Yes, we need to also take a look and check out on logistic optimization. And yes, we need to see how everything goes together with legislations and regulations. So I talked you through different challenges, solutions, and I would like also to share to you one of the examples we successfully realized and brought to the market approximately 2 years back, again during the COVID time. Yes, during COVID time, we all had face masks, but suddenly these face masks were ending up on the street. So it really became a waste. So actually together with value chain partners, in this case actually with Procter & Gamble and Fraunhofer, we took really the action. And we did small pilot project actually illustrating how we can go from collected waste. At Procter & Gamble, they installed really waste bins They collected them, and basically we brought them to Fraunhofer, where it was really small pilot plant where we produced pyrolyzed oil, and this pyrolyzed oil was returned back within our crackers and polymers, polymer plant. We made new granulates. We made new polymers, polypropylene, that it was then used in the new face mask. So we gave opportunity for a second life of the face mask, so we could control all steps. Well, with this, I just would like to mention, and today you heard a lot, let us think about everyday life. Let us think, what does matter to you? What is it around you? What are the challenges? But let's not see them as a challenge. Yes, climate change. Yes, temperature increase. Yes, we want greener transport. We want fresher food. We want also cleaner water, but also better life, healthier life for all of us. So let's think about circular economy. Let's think about not plastic waste, but let's think about, waste feedstock. Let's think about renewable feedstock. So let's move them into the opportunity. And as previous speakers mentioned, let's join forces. Let's see really how together we can work on this journey and how we can unlock some new, unique opportunity and work together in order to deliver solution for our better life. Thank you.
Thank you, Jelena. I will try to keep the essential question, because I see time going, and move them some to the round table. But I have one I would like you to explicit a bit. It's about the mass balance. Can you explain to the audience a little bit the benefit of the mass balance approach, and also what is the position of the European Commission on this point, which is a key step in the development of chemical recycling?
Indeed. I mentioned actually that we brought different solutions through our products that we have, and we are using indeed mass balance ISCC certification, because we believe this is the only way sustainable for such a difficult waste that we are going to take on. So we have started this journey almost 10 years back, and through all practices we have shown indeed this is a necessary step. And they showed also here, this is the step which is indeed showing how we can fulfill highest regulations, safety and purity, and really combine benefits of a mass balance. But in other, which is really important for us, we offer the same properties, and we avoid actually any additional steps. So this is really simply saying drop-in solution. Yes, there are different indeed from European levels. We see different in these discussions about mass balance, and the way and different competition with the fuel feedstock. So the way how we are going to treat that one, it is, we are going to take a look into it. We are evolving, developing further, and looking what is the solution there. But mass balance principle at the moment allowing us to go into direction and basically to do recycling for our industry.
Okay. Then I would just want to ask you just your overall view about what would be needed to increase circularity for the plastic industry. What would you recommend?
What is it needed? I think each of us really mentioned, first of all, indeed, awareness, education, again, and Pontus and Robert mentioned, yes, there is a lot of waste. We all need to know. We need to go to hospitals also to educate them. This is a plastic waste, but we can collect it. So collection, awareness, education, collection, sorting out, but also logistic optimization is another important pillar that we need to do. And yes, I didn't talk about business model, but again, previous speakers talk. So there is a lot. Our hands are full, and we need really to work together through the value chain. Let's not think supply chain. Let's really do different mind shift.
Yeah, and we will discuss with David some of the challenges you mentioned. In the debate, we will come back about the topic you indicate, and we always come back to working together, including now you mentioned to do the training of the hospital. Could be one more task of a possible non-woven medical alliance.
Action indeed, because educating, I recall first time when we went to the hospital, when we looked into the waste bins, how mixed waste was there. Really different combination, plastic with glass, with some metals, but then really sorting it out. And yeah, so nowadays everyone knows face masks are out of the plastic, but before Corona time, that was unknown. So yes.
Yeah, we have learned to sort our waste at home, but we have not yet implemented this at hospital. So this is one of the challenges. Thank you, Jelena. I would like to thank you for this very insightful presentation and ask everybody to applaud you. And then last but not least, I want to introduce our last speaker, David Sheres. David is based in Wales. David is director of Thermal Compaction Group Ltd, a company that manufactures a range of plastic recycling machinery. David is also CEO of Tungsten Corporate Solution Ltd, a company that operates as a business advisor in the recycling sector. David is an advisory board of Congo River, a project aiming to reduce ocean plastic pollution by recovery and recycling via micro-businesses. David is the inventor of Insulwatt energy-saving device for the plastic processing sector, and with this invention, he was awarded in the UK with Queen Award for Environmental Achievement. And finally, David is the inventor of this Sterimelt technology that we have mentioned earlier, a technology used by the NHS hospital in the UK to reduce the impact of single-use plastic, such as non-woven textile. During his presentation, David will tell us more about this technology, and the title of his talk is How to Make Circularity of Medical Non-Woven More Efficient, the NHS Case Study. Welcome, David, to the stage.
Well, thank you, Crystal. Well, my discussion today is more about concept than statistics. The statistics, I think my colleagues are far more expert than I, and I'd suggest looking at some of the documentation that they've proposed that you read. I'd probably start off, though, with the Let My People Surf, because that's probably the most interesting book you'll read. But the statistics and the analysis, it's all there on the internet to be found very, very easily. When we look at circularity, it's a very interesting concept. Robert said we need to affect change. Change takes time. And I'm living evidence of that, because when I got onto the road to circularity, I had far more hair and it was a different colour. And my road to circularity started 40 years ago. I was diving in the Aegean, and I thought I was Jacques Cousteau, but clearly I'm not. And I was searching for Greek amphora, but I didn't find Greek amphora. What I found was a 3-metre pile of plastic cups on the bottom of a bay. There was no tide in the bay, but there's a 3-metre pile, at least 4 metres long, of plastic cups. And these plastic cups had been thrown overboard from tourist ships that would stop to admire the view, have a drink of civilich, and throw it in the sea. When I returned to shore, this irritated me. And I spoke to one of the captains of the ships. I said, why do you do this? Why do you throw this stuff overboard? Well, he said, the problem is we get these plastic cups in a box that big. When we actually use them, we now have 8 boxes of cups, and we're ankle deep in the stuff. So my immediate thought was perhaps what we could do is volumetrically reduce them by crushing them. I started a little bit of work in crushing cups, but it really wasn't a viable proposition because these things have memory, they're elastic, and they bounce back again. So it didn't work. Some years later, the concept evolved. I was visiting a customer, a very large Japanese company, a technology company that make electric consumer goods, and they were using polystyrene as transit packaging. And I noticed in the factory that very large, we call them skips, the Americans call them dumpsters, trash cans, of polystyrene was leaving the factory virtually every couple of hours. And I automatically thought, well, this stuff must be recycled. What a great idea. I asked the question to the plant manager, and I said, well, how do you recycle this stuff? He said, we don't, it goes to landfill. I thought it was absolutely extraordinary that the effort that went into making it was being destroyed at the end of its very, very short loose. So I had a very, very simple idea, a eureka moment. Well, if I put a big heater on the skip, I could melt the skip, and they would get 10 times more of this material. Actually, they could have got 90 times more if we'd found a big enough heater. So we developed a machine that could melt polystyrene very, very easily and volumetrically reduce it. And the concept is very, very simple. If we look at plastic, here we have a plastic bottle, single-use plastic bottle, very, very useful, far lighter to transport than glass, far less energy used to actually transport the bottle, but it started life as a small amount of plastic granules no bigger than the cap. So what you've created is a huge problem in respect of logistics. When we consider non-woven fabrics, there's a slight trend at the moment to demonize the materials, plastic in particular. And I would say that the problem isn't the plastic materials, it's the end of use, the end of life of the materials that is the problem, because we shouldn't overlook the reason these things were invented, which was to benefit mankind. These things solved problems. They created resolution to issues of sterility. Now we have a trend back towards organic materials, reusable materials, which have their own problems. Degradability during use, functionality. Life cycle analysis is very, very complicated, as is carbon footprint. And I'm pretty sure I could spend an hour here convincing you all to buy electric cars, and then spend another hour convincing you all to drive petrol cars. It's a very, very complex subject. But if we look at it in simplistic terms, if we want to reduce the impact of these materials, first of all, one of the most important things that has been said by my colleagues is the word education. It has to be education. We have to educate people, first of all, the benefits of the materials, but also how they should be treated and how they should be disposed of, and they should be treated as a valuable commodity. They are valuable, they're worth something. If we look at the pilot plants that we've undertaken in the NHS, we were very, very fortunate to meet some very lateral thinking people who would give things a chance. And taking a chance is often very, very difficult because you can put yourself at risk, and people are risk averse naturally. I'll see if I can master the controls. So we're looking at an alternative to incineration of non-woven waste. This machine, the very first machine that was accepted by the National Health Service in the UK, went into St Willis Hospital in South Wales. And St Willis is a very interesting site. It's a Victorian, archaic site. The building is over 100 years old. But it was the very first National Health public hospital in Wales, and it's part of the Aneurin and Brevan Trust, the politician that started the British National Health Service. So we're very pleased that the very first machine went into the very first NHS hospital. Their situation was that they were using non-woven synthetics, and the good thing about the material is it was very, very identifiable as a homogeneous waste stream. If it was blue, it was polypropylene. and that could go through our technology. So I'll play this video, which the hospital asked the BBC to take a look at what they were doing because they're very proud that they were trailblazing.
Trialling a pioneering recycling scheme which it's hoped could generate thousands of pounds for the NHS. Clinical waste from operating theatres at Newport's Royal Gwent is put in a special oven which turns it into plastic briquettes that can then be sold. The company behind the technology believe it could eventually be adopted worldwide. Nick Pallett reports.
The thousands of operations carried out each year here at Newport's Royal Gwent Hospital generate a mountain of clinical waste, which costs a great deal of money to dispose of. Here at the sterilisation unit, surgical instruments just used in theatre are sent down for cleaning. But now a byproduct of this procedure could be turned into cash.
This material is used to wrap surgical instruments, but once it's finished with, it used to end up as clinical waste. Now a pioneering scheme in this Welsh hospital means it could be a revenue stream for the cash-strapped NHS.
For the past year, this material has been taken from the Royal Gwent to their recycling centre next door at St Wooler's Hospital, ready for the revolutionary process developed by a Cardiff engineering firm. The plastic is placed into their machine called a sterimelt. An hour or so later, it produces this plastic brick material.
Well, the machine itself is basically like an oven. It condenses the polypropylene wrap and makes it into a solid block. So what we do is volumetrically reduce the size of the wrap for the hospital, turning it into a revenue stream for them to put back into patient care. It can be made into such things as furniture and decking, fence posts, and there's a multitude of opportunity here for the hospital to recoup some money from a much needed resource.
Even for this one hospital, recycling just 2 tonnes of waste a month, it makes perfect financial sense.
Well, the saving at the Royal Gwent Hospital alone is £1,000 per month. Once we expand this across the other hospital sites within the health board, this will increase significantly. This is a big bonus really, that it will actually save us money with our waste revenue budget, in addition to creating an income and a revenue stream for the health board. And I think this will go global really. It's got a lot of interest from across the world, particularly the NHS Scotland, Wales, and I think it's going to be a very successful project.
This pilot scheme has been backed by the Bevan Commission with money from their Efficiency Through Technology Fund. Those behind the scheme believe this process, pioneered here in Wales, may eventually be adopted worldwide.
So that particular machine, I thought it would be good to show you the video because first of all I couldn't put one in my hand luggage, it was far too big, but also to conceptualize what it is. It's a big oven, it's far better to see it working. We'll show another much shorter video now, then I can explain a little bit more about the technology and the advantages behind it.
On a typical day, the average hospital generates approximately 100 kilograms of blue wrap waste. Current disposal methods are landfill sites and incineration. These are both very costly and harmful to the environment. The thermal compaction group can provide a solution via a 100% closed-loop recycling process. Using carefully controlled heat, the blue wrap material is sterilised and melted into liquid that is poured into a mould and cooled into dense blocks. The machine utilises a simple interface with single-button walk-away operation. This produces a single polypropylene block at the end of the cycle. This unique process diverts the blue wrap waste away from landfill sites or incineration and back into the supply chain. This provides valuable recycled material which will be manufactured into new products, enhancing your savings, reducing your environmental impact, as well as improving your sustainable responsibility and compliance.
So, what are we doing here? What we're doing is very, very simple, actually. We are reversing the manufacturing process. The polymers that we're talking about today are manufactured using heat. And by reversing that heat, we can reduce the materials structurally, which is very significant to give you a chance for recycling. Some of the initiatives, I've looked at many initiatives over the last decade, and some of them are quite preposterous, because when you try to transport voluminous products by small trucks, the minute you turn the ignition on, you're generating loss. It just doesn't work. The advantage that the hospital in Newport discovered is that they had a lot of traffic to the site to remove the material. And the material was ostensibly clean, but it was, a lot of it was soiled. It had to be removed very quickly. So the traffic to the site was quite high. They were removing this material twice a week because they couldn't store it. Most hospitals are at a premium for space. A lot of them, particularly in the UK, were built many, many years ago before people even had the concept of large-scale transport and trucks. So space is at a premium. So even if the material wasn't a health risk, it still had to be moved because it occupied space. So from the point of view of the return of investment for this particular hospital, what they were able to do was reduce the twice-a-week collection of non-woven synthetics to a collection every 12 weeks, every 3 months, and at that stage they could monetize it. Because it was a homogeneous waste stream, it had some value. And even if the value was nominal, it actually deterred a gate fee on a recycling plant, and it reduced their waste management cost. So the statistics actually stacked up. From the point of view of circularity, the emissions, when you look at the number of trucks traveling to and fro to the hospital every week, plus the management cost of administering it, being available, management being available to receive the traffic, deal with the traffic, log it, it was quite considerable. So what we have here is an opportunity. It's not the answer to everything. There's no question it is, because there are many, many products and many, many polymers. Some of the issues my colleagues have addressed would be product design. If we look at the homogeneity of products, surely it's better to have a homogeneous face mask, pure polypropylene, instead of a face mask with perhaps a metal noseband. These are the kind of things that we need to consider during product design. One of the hypotheses that I discussed in the past is that if we look at notorious waste, which is probably worse than medical waste, the fast food sector waste, if you could create a homogeneous waste stream, so the cup, the plate, the lid, the straw, the knife, the fork, the napkin is all polypropylene, you can now deal with that very, very simply. Most recycling initiatives fail because of the cost of segregation and education, back to education. You cannot expect people to be able to identify a myriad of polymers. But in the medical sector, we've got the advantage of we have product streams that are very identifiable. You can almost identify some of them by colour, as we have with the blue wrap, although saying that, we saw green wrap being put through the machine. So the concept is reverse the manufacturing process at the point of origin to reduce logistical cost. And that reduction in logistics, which is about 85%, will lead to a reduction in the recyclate cost of remanufacturing the product into something else. The recent development that we've worked on is that during our process, the machine is ostensibly an oven. It's very, very insulated. You can actually touch it without getting burnt, but it's operating at 300 degrees centigrade on the inside. It works on a partial vacuum process. The emissions from the machine, and it's a question I'm often asked, what are the emissions? Well, the emissions are probably better than outside the hospital, because the fumes from the machine are put through a HEPA filter and electrostatic scrubber. And that isn't because of any potential danger in those fumes or VOCs. That's to remove unfamiliar odours from the workplace. If you walk into a plastics factory, many of us here will have worked or visited plastics factories, the smell is dreadful. No different to walking into a fish processing plant. But unfamiliar odours, people resent that. And if you wish to implement change, you have to deal with objections to that change. And one of the objections is, are we creating a health risk by this technology? And this is something that we've had to ask. And that has to take into account all factors, such as who will use that machine. The machine has to be simple. It has one button. We have to determine, did it go through its cycle? So the machine is data logged. We measure the amount of duration of the melt, how long it takes, what the temperature was attained, and that is historical evidence that then can be revisited at a future date. The machine has to be interlocked. You cannot open the machine as it's operating. So these are the type of things to consider, and the implementation of this technology has to be simple or it will never work. I won't go into the circular economy because it's something that we're all very, very familiar with, but what we feel is that by dealing with some substantial waste streams by reversing the manufacturing process, we can allow the chance of recycling to take place even better. So again, what we consider here is reuse and recycle. As its worst option, we can look at energy recovery. We've got people at the minute that are experimenting with this material, and it's a process that takes time, but we've got a very good company that is converting the material by pyrolysis into energy. They can also look at conversion to hydrogen at the moment, which is very high on their agenda, and they've had some success. It's a company based in Ireland. They have a prototype plant in South Wales. Again, that prototype plant was instigated as a result of the wish to change. And what happened particularly, we've all heard of the great oceanic pollution, and David Attenborough has done a sterling job in promoting that. But it was reported that domestic plastic waste from a certain area of South Wales was being found in Taiwan and in the Pacific. So the local authority decided to do something about it, and part of the solution was to consider waste to energy as a fairly neat solution. So if you look at it as an alternative to incineration, it's a one option. You incinerate, that's it. It's the end of life. What I would say is we're producing material that has effectively a very, very high calorific value. It's over 30 megajoules a kilogram. So from that basis, it can be used as waste to energy, certainly at the end of its life, but why not use it 2 or 3 or 4 times before? With the new packaging directives, in which we are legally required to consider the use of recyclate in new packaging, this is an option. Process we've seen on the video is very, very simple. We collect the waste. We found that the hospital staff were very, very amenable to segregation because they could identify it easily, and we could put bins in place that would deal with that. And we had virtually 100% success rate. We had another project during COVID at the Royal Hospital in Cornwall collecting face masks, and that worked very, very well. The issue there was that by experience, we educated ourselves to learn that we could only put in 6,000 face masks at a time because the metal pieces would clog the machine. The machine has no moving parts, it works on gravity, but it works on feeding the material through an aperture, and the aperture is wide enough to allow most things through. So, when the inevitable one-day titanium hip joint goes in, the machine will not lose their hospital machine because it will not damage the machine. The machine is a static process. As we said in the previous slide, the material is put into the machine, you switch it on. It actually heats for only 20 minutes. So the energy cost of the machine is very, very low. We're talking of under 400 watts a kilogram to process the material. And that's because the machine builds up latent heat and it's hugely insulated. The rest of the cycle of the machine is allowing it to cool, to take it to a standard in which it can be handled. As a result of the 300 degree temperature, clearly we're looking at a temperature and a threshold that we're sanitizing the material. The cycle takes 1 hour 20 minutes, and as I say, the hour of that is actually cooling. And there's an iteration of the machine that we're considering accelerating the cooling, but there's an energy offset to consider that, and we have to look at what's practical. The products that qualify for densification. We've had an excellent project in Cornwall with face masks during COVID, and we dealt with all of the output of that hospital during the pandemic. We've had a very, very good project with curtains, courtesy curtains. In the UK, we have courtesy curtains around the beds that are manufactured from non-woven. We've put them through with nylon hooks, but the manufacturer now are considering manufacturing polypropylene hooks, which again goes back to our philosophy of presenting homogeneous products to actually maximize on the potential for recovery. We've also had very, very good work with patient transfer sheets, and that again is a product that is eminently suitable for reducing the volume of it at source by applying heat. Again, all we're doing is reversing the manufacturing process, but without the transportation costs during manufacturing. We looked at a slide earlier when we looked at the impact of manufacturing and the huge percentage of that during the process of actually producing the product and getting it to the door. What we find in the UK at the moment is that only the larger companies, tier one companies and larger public companies are legislated to actually index their scope 3 emissions and report them. But what we're finding, particularly over the last 2 years, is that that responsibility is being passed down the supply chain. So the actual end of life of products and how you deal with them and their environmental impact as regards disposal and transportation will become more and more relevant as it moves down the supply chains. And again, we anticipate that the SMEs will be legislated for in the future. So the benefits, I've probably explained all the benefits. We've got a volume reduction of the waste. We reduce the logistics significantly by at least 80%. We have a sanitized block. We add value to the material because we can turn them into pellets, and that's been successfully proven. Recent work has shown that we can actually extract the elastomer during the process, which now we have a far more brittle block, which there's far less energy to grind it during recycling, and that's something that's quite current. These are just testimonials from some of the users. We've had a machine actually in the Medical Research Centre, Cambridge, for 12 years, and that was dealing with transit polystyrene. And the biggest success of that machine, reported to us, was the waste manager told me that he actually inherited a car parking spot because they could remove the waste bins. And that was deemed very, very successful. But again, there was a return on investment because they saved the transportation cost of the machine. And that is basically it. It's a concept to consider, and the uniqueness of non-woven fabrics allows it to be regarded in this manner and dealt with at the point of use. So yes, the technology could probably be developed further, but at the minute we're probably looking at the low hanging fruit because that's how we'll affect change. And thank you very much.
Thank you, David. Thank you. Isn't it wonderful to have somebody like David taking care of our problem out of the blue?
Maybe.
So maybe we have a lot of more inventors like you to support this initiative. I will keep most of my questions for the debate, but I want to ask you one specific one. It sounds to be successful in those hospital you presented us. So why is NHS not deploying this all around the UK?
Because it's a fragmented service. Each individual trust has its own purchase managers. There's no consolidated purchase program. So, for example, in South Wales, in the one hospital, they have 4 hospitals, 4 separate budgets, 4 separate waste managements. One of the slides of my colleagues alluded to the capital cost of equipment. One of the issues that we need to address is servitising the equipment. So now we remove it from the capital expenditure budget to basically it becomes a rental. And then I think we've got a better chance because its route to acquisition should be faster.
Yeah, so you say 2 things. The last one was about servitization of the machine. Instead of selling the machine to the hospital, they don't need to spend the capital. You install the machine as a service, and they don't invest. Yes, and the other thing you mentioned, it's about this challenge of how do we deploy a recycling program all across hospital. You say that if we go one by one, discuss one hospital at a time, well, it's a never-ending task. Therefore, this idea of working together as an alliance and trying to go top-down about training a hospital and offering something which is coming with learning, experience, and proven capability, that would be helpful.
Yes, collaboration is obviously the answer, and educating the purchase departments is not only about price. We've seen this time and time again, that you can offer the most sustainable and logical solution, but what's cheapest? As an example, we assisted a company in South Wales. We work in the sustainability sector, and the very first 2 electric HGV trucks were introduced into that company, a very ambitious company called FSEW, our client. They bought their trucks. The trucks were twice the price of the comparable fossil fuel-powered trucks, but it created huge opportunity for them because they actually picked up a huge contract from Tesco's to do freight using these trucks, because Tesco's have a commitment to net carbon zero in so many years. So Tesco started to use the company. However, we find that Tesco aren't always using these trucks because each job is tendered for. And some of the purchase managers refuse to use them because they're more expensive. So there is the issue. Everybody wishes it to be sustainable and green until it costs them.
Absolutely. So join me to thank one more time David for his contribution to the industry and this presentation. I see time going, so I would like to go into the roundtable together with this unique panel. We will cover 4 topics. The first one is the objection. I mean, the elephant in the room is that it's a very controversial topic to recycle medical waste. So what about the safety first? What would you answer? Several country regulations request contaminated waste to be incinerated. Is there a safe way to handle medical waste outside incineration? So maybe, Jelena, if you have a view on that.
Yeah, maybe I can start a bit from our side. As mentioned also in presentation, safety, purity is the crucial, and basically we see the bringing medical waste, incineration, yes, is that the way? I don't want to debate on that one, but we need indeed to go step by step, and if we want to talk about circularity, we need to go into different analysis and to prove, can that go really for the incineration, or we have in other possibilities? Can we bring it for recycling? Do we need to do some small analysis, pilot project? But it's not only bringing it for the incineration, it is also what about the way how you are collecting the waste, how you are sorting out, how you are transporting it.
Yeah, so a pathogen study and best practice could be one of the things that we should take together. We could take together as an industry and not do individually. The next question would be about why doing it now? In fact, if we consider the medical sector at the moment, it's excluded from the single-use plastic, it's excluded from the extended producer responsibility directive. So why should we implement such program in the absence of a regulation forcing the shift to circular economy? I don't know if somebody wants to answer.
Yeah, I think you mentioned that in your presentation, yeah, this question just from March. So 1 month ago, the question to the Parliament asking, hey, the reusable is, of course, is moving, so it's safer than it used to be. There are scientific studies. Of course, there are also scientific studies in the other way. So if we do nothing as an industry, at the end, yeah, what will happen?
The other will move.
Yeah. So with all what has changed in the last 3 years, probably more than in the last 10 years, it's not an option, I think, doing nothing, in my view. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if somebody wants to add something. Anyone? Otherwise, I
can just add very briefly. I also think that we should not wait, because we see that we have a big challenge versus the reusable industry. So I think they're, if I can say getting some traction. So I think instead of waiting from regulation or even waiting to ask our customers, we should come up with solutions now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Then a follow-up question to that. Yes, we should start, but where should we start? We heard the story of Robert about the metal clip on the mask. There is another example, which is the PFAS in the surgical gown, which is not compatible with mechanical or with chemical recycling. So should we start first with an industry guideline for eco-design, or can we just start with what we have right now? How would you talk about the feasibility and the step?
Maybe I can start from that side. Yes, you talked about eco-design. It's something we need to do it. We cannot avoid it. We need to think about what are really alternative solutions for our industry for easier design. Yes, now we talk about non-woven, but think about other healthcare applications which are even more complex. Another point you said about PFAS. Yes, that's maybe a kind of new trend, new regulations, new drivers, which is coming. And we need to start, and plastic industry already start looking into that. Yes, we are looking for alternative solutions, but we need also to take a look, hey, what is it, how we can replace it, what we can do now until we wait. Another point you mentioned, yes, there are different actions done if we talk about recycling, done for different applications. Yes, packaging starting years back, and now it's scaling up, and now it's moving with the speed. So there is a small portion left for us. We need to start acting now, not betting only one item. We need to follow different challenges parallelly.
Yeah. Very well said. I don't know if somebody wants to comment.
Yeah, to reinforce that. And I mean, before we said that we don't know how to do it, today we have seen that there are some specific solutions or pilots, so there are a lot of learnings there that I'm sure that in this workshop that Christelle and Edana are promoting, we can go deeper. And some of those are giving solutions already to problems that we have now. So answering your question, I think that if as an industry we decide to go into the eco-design until we don't fix that, we do nothing else, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
So I think it needs to be in parallel.
Yeah.
I love the comment of David on the colors, for example. That's kind of simple eco-design. If that, for example, helps to increase the rating of kilos that we can process in a certain solution, that could be a quick eco-design that we can do. But just focusing in the eco-design in a mature industry with all the environment we have, I don't think is the right reaction of the industry.
Yeah. Thank you. Economics, that's for you, David. I think you mentioned it. Is it economically viable? I think the video was telling us yes.
Yes, the material has value. and there are people that are seeking the material, I think it'll only gain in value as the packaging directives take force. So yes, it has value, even if that value is deflection from landfill and reducing traffic to hospital sites. So the value in carbon offset is a consideration that you can put a financial value on, and that's a study that many people are looking at the moment.
Absolutely. And I have one slide, so I will show to...
Maybe in the meantime, one
Yeah.
additional comment is maybe more intangible, but what is about the image of a hospital? I mean, if they are able to give an answer to that, that can be also a way to differentiate or a way to present themselves as cleaner. These are the type of value.
Oh, absolutely, because again, it's attracting people to work in sectors. We see more and more. The people that actually motivate this in the hospital aren't the supply chain, it's the clinicians, which is extraordinary, because they are the people who are taking an interest in sustainability.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a bit a paradox, because everybody has a lot of benefit, but right now it's not happening.
No.
Sorry.
No, no problem.
Sorry.
So I wanted to elaborate on the economics, because you would say that virgin polypropylene is much cheaper than recycle. Well, this is the vision of polymer being produced in 2050. There will not be fossil-based polymer. And maybe we can argue if it's down to zero or to a little bit. But what is clear on the picture is the recycling portion, up to 60% of polymer being produced from recycling. So if we look at this, I want to understand what is the impact we can have for medical non-woven. Is medical clothing representing a low-hanging fruit or a challenge? And it's my first question is for you, Jelena. Is medical clothing waste stream something attractive for a company with investing in chemical recycling and looking for waste stream to load this asset? How would you comment?
That can be some attractive indeed solution. We need to examine it or to evaluate, analyze, and basically what David presented, yes, there are different solutions about PP non-woven, but we know that many of these gowns, medical non-wovens, are combining polypropylene, polyethylene, and we see actually chemical recycling is the way to go. Actually, it is something that you can use it as a feedstock in order to deliver highly valued new material that can be used.
Yeah, and we
further.
saw in one of your slides, Robert, that in all the waste from the hospital, the non-woven was high volume, high value. So, would we agree to say it's more low-hanging fruit compared to packaging that you need to sort out and which is less homogeneous and more challenging to collect, or?
Let us indeed talk about it a bit later, because I would like also to understand in other data and input, if we talk about contaminated waste, yes or no, how we can bring it, can we bring it to which temperature, but that one is again, as I mentioned, something could be attractive. Is that better than a packaging? Well, let's be honest, we have packaging now, collection, sorting is progressing, is ready, is going to our plants that we are building up now. But this one is something we need to get it ready, we need to build it up.
Okay.
So starting now, it's gonna be proven, or we are going to receive the data and guide directions.
Okay. And then my next question would be for Pontus and Robert. Should we be leader or follower when setting recycling scheme within the hospital? So should we piggyback on another recycling program that the hospital will set up first, or should we lead the way? And what type of other plastic or other product could piggyback on our initiatives? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I can start. So first, I was just thinking when you were speaking here about the previous topic that we always think that we have a very regulated industry, the medtech, which is blocking us from doing things usually. But now I was thinking at the same time, having a very controlled industry could be maybe in favor in this case as well. Wouldn't you think? I mean, if you try to look a little bit positive on this, that we can have controlled streams here going forward. To that question, we should lead, of course. So yeah, I mean, there are already a lot of circular systems within the hospitals, the reusables. I mean, they have a circular system in place. We are losing business towards the reusable industry. So again, we need to come up with our alternatives there as well, I think, definitely. Now, we have a lot of non-wovens and laminates and films and so on that should go in there, but when I was sharing before, our core business is these procedure packs, and we have a lot of other berry produced plastic components that would of course be of interest here. Yep.
Yeah, maybe to complement that, I think before we already talk about the diapers potential to be combined. That will depend on the solution.
Yes.
That we still don't know, or we will need to map and understand the restrictions and what is suitable for what, where we are ready, where we need to invest or investigate. Yeah. So that might be one. Other type of plastics might be a lot easier. Yeah. Maybe even, and I'm just brainstorming. Yeah. For example, reusable. There are some reusables that are polypropylene, and after I don't know how many times they need to go and be recycled. So depending on the solution, those could also go, for example, to Sterimelt machine. Yeah. So I think that the answer, in my view, should be absolutely yes, to have the mindset to find synergies. I imagine this work group with people representing hospitals, otherwise going to be very difficult if we don't introduce this consumer or end customer in the group. Yeah, we think we always need that vision. Yeah.
Yeah. So do we have a kind of agreement that we are big enough, our problem is big enough that we should lead? We should initiate that. And I have another question about how can we, what can accelerate or slow down this transformation? I don't know who wants to jump in. You have some experience, David, of a slowdown in the UK with some incredible success, but you explain difficult to deploy because it's decision one by one.
Yeah,
hospital by hospital.
I think the UK situation is not typical. It's, as I said earlier, it's a fragmented situation with different health trusts. So you have to persuade an awful lot of people. So I think it has to be top down, not bottom up. And that's the solution if you're looking for an expedient process. But of course, the solution has to be viable. That goes without saying. Yeah. And the cost of it, and whatever that cost needs to be defined, that needs to be articulated to people, because it might not just be against the cost of a single item. When you look at healthcare costs and some of the issues around the reusable products that were evident many, many years ago, this is why this sector developed.
Yeah.
But I think if the sector doesn't act and consolidate with a consolidated approach, there is a danger that the reusable sector, for many, many reasons, including fear of supply chain issues, will perhaps take a reversionary step.
So who should do what? What should be the business model? Who should be training the hospital? Who should be organizing the collection? Would Mölnlycke do that through their sales force? Or should we have an external collector aggregate and approved for hospital all across Europe? Yeah. What is your view, Pontus?
Yeah, this is the difficult one. I think very difficult. And I think that should be definitely, if you speak about creating some working group here now, to really look at those, how would that model look like? And I think today we are missing, for example, the collection is, I think, one piece missing here. So we need to work that out. I think Mölnlycke, we want to definitely be leading here, and obviously we we're constantly interfacing with the hospitals, but we're within the OR mainly, and we want to find solutions there together with the value chain here. But the collection piece is we need to fit in there somehow.
Yeah, other industry use aggregate collector, like in the fashion, you would have some multi-brand collector taking care, which is also, I guess, a need for hospital, not to have a system for a single brand. Whether they want to change supplier, they would like the same single system valid for everyone.
Obviously, and we're recognizing that as well. So we need to have a larger, it's not only us, of course.
Yeah. Any other opinion on the business model or anything you want to add?
In general, I would...
Giovanna is want something.
Wait, we are finished, actually. Then I will go to the last one. I would go to the next step. What we see the need to go collectively. So what would be actually the scope of such an alliance to address?
Well, I think first, in my view, we need to know is if we're able to have a common vision. Yeah. Otherwise, this will not work. I think we also need to understand what role EDANA wants to play. And go there with a win-win mindset, yeah. In my view, that's key.
I would say let's not do indeed things alone, separately. Let us do together. And I like your proposal, what you mentioned, Pontus. Maybe indeed do things in a controlled way. Let's find boundaries, organize roundtables, and start with actions, because we need to act together as a value chain.
And this is really where we wanted to go, actually, to conclude the session, is to... we wanted here to inspire for action. We wanted to give food for thought. But now we want you to give an opinion of what should be done. Should we organize such an alliance? What should be in the scope, out of scope? In your company, who should be the right person to participate? These are all the questions that EDANA would like to collect through the brainstorming. And as a next step, there will be on June 6th a workshop session organized by EDANA to try to go to the analysis of this brainstorming feedback and see where we can start. So with this, I would like to come to the end of this seminar. We wait your opinion, but before I close, I would like to thank our incredible 4 speakers for their presentation, for their commitment to lead on collaboration, innovation, sustainability. And on my side, my strong wish is that this seminar can mark a new beginning, that we go away from take, make, waste, linear economy, and that we engage together in a circular future, doing this with no compromise to our purpose, which is to contribute to health and well-being for all. So I want to thank everybody and wish everybody a very successful trade show. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christelle.